Blue Beetle official final trailer. One day ago. We can only hope. So they're showing you this building's at an incredible height. This would kill any child emulating this commercial. It appears there doesn't seem to be any human beings running DC Comics, or Warner Brothers for that matter. Let's just show children how to jump off the top of a building to be like their favorite superhero, the Blue Beetle. What a great idea. Okay, so that object is clearly not there. That could not be any more clear that that is a computer-generated image over his hand. They're so cheap at this movie company, they can't make an actual mechanical toy scarab to sit on his hand. No, it's a clearly unreal scarab that's not there and has no reality whatsoever. Look at that. Imagine a 6-year-old watching this trailer, the target audience for the movie. Any 6-year-old would be horrified at seeing what this thing is doing to his face. They'd say, "Mommy, I don't want to see that movie. Take me to Super Mario Brothers instead." Why would they think that this transformation effect would get young children, the target market, to ask their parents to buy a ticket to go see this movie? This doesn't make sense. So this suit has an automated female artificial intelligence, but the AI isn't smart enough to detect an unauthorized user putting on the suit. Look at that, it just blasted through the roof of a building without having any idea where it was. What if there was, some lady taking a bath on the floor above at this building? This suit would have just killed that person or persons above. Imagine if there were 20 stories above that suit. Uptown, baby, but they see I'm up now, baby. Interesting soundtrack choice, I guess. Not something I'd personally want to listen to. So this artificial intelligence in the armor is not very smart. It sounds positively stupid. It can't even identify a slow-moving bus and sets some kind of disintegration field on. Now, this is played for comedy, that he's neatly slicing between these 2 rows of bus passengers. What if someone had their leg in the aisle? I know that if I'm riding on a bus and I'm stuck on a tiny little narrow seat, I probably got a foot in the aisle. Well, that foot just got lopped off. What if an old lady had her cane out in the aisle and she was reaching her hand out there? Her hand just got severed by this power suit. Look at that. This bus is melted from this suit. How is this safe for him to wear? My gosh, look at the damage he did to this building just flying straight up. Looks like 9/11 all over again. Wow. Would you like this person causing all this damage to your skyscraper while you're in it? Okay, so this is a government-designed power suit, and they couldn't even design it with password protection so it wouldn't activate for a non-authorized user. I mean, that's all the military does. This soundtrack on the movie is terrible. Alright, so here's our generic villains. Look at this CGI. This bears no resemblance to anything in reality that is in the real world. It's just some nonsense generated on a computer. And you look at this and you're like, no, this doesn't look like a real threat. This This soundtrack for the movie, it blows. Alright, so it's got some kind of amazing tech that merges into your body. There's no explanation for how the government has this technology. Oh, he has a giant power suit to fight the Blue Beetle with. So much for that surprise for the audience. They already saw it in the trailer. We're halfway through this, more than halfway through this trailer, and all we've seen this guy do is scream he's been kidnapped and he's a victim and blah 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 blah. When you think of Iron Man inventing his armor and writing the operating system for the armor's technology, and the work that went into the original Iron Man movie with Robert Downey Jr. playing Tony Stark, then you look at this guy and all he's doing is screaming like a baby through the whole trailer. What does this say about him being a hero? Why is it even called Blue Beetle anyway? His suit doesn't look particularly blue. The glowing parts are teal, it's black. If we actually go back and look, Steve Ditko, the artist, came up with the concept of the Blue Beetle. And if we look at this guy's backstory, it's just an ordinary white guy who came up with a spandex suit and a bunch of gadgets to fight crime. He has a baton to go rappelling down on. He has some kind of gun. But he has different technologies here that he uses to fight bad guys. This all came out of his intellect. He even designed this Mantis vehicle. Really? Wait, why is he a superhero? He hasn't actually done anything heroic. This is not a hero. He's caused hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars of damage just in this trailer alone, possibly killed several people. The idea here was, let's swap the race of the guy, who's a white guy. This will ensure that Latinos identify with the character of the Blue Beetle and go spend money on seeing this movie at the theater. This is a racist assumption by DC Comics, the director of the movie and the scriptwriters. Why can't Latino children at the movie theater be inspired by a different ethnic group? In this case, the white guy, Blue Beetle. It's racist to say a Latino audience cannot identify with someone of a different ethnicity. So you have to switch out the race and have this whole production about the Latino family is making him strong. Now, look at this thing on his back. Why is this at all a selling point? Who came up with this? It has nothing to do with the comic book character. So this is just something bizarre invented for the movie because someone thought it would look cool animating this. How is having this grotesque technology, which is horrifyingly altering his body, how is a scene like this going to sell a single ticket? Why would anyone say, I want to see how that works? Because it doesn't really actually make sense that the government would have such technology to morph the human body in this fashion. Look at that. It's replaced his spine with some kind of electronic gadget. That sounds horrifying. Instead of showing us the individual genius of the Blue Beetle, he's almost a victim. Ah, target the family. Oh, so it's like the government coming for illegal immigrants. Look at this. It's like a bunch of ICE agents coming to grab his family. Wait a minute. What did he just do? Let's turn the sound up. Hold on. Did you hear that? It sounded like a wet, mushy sound, like he just crushed the bones and meat of these agents fatally, like they just got killed here. Yeah, that sounded like they all just died there from his horrifying attack. Oh, so there's the Mantis vehicle we saw in the comic book. And, again, it's how insulting a premise that this Latino kid, he has no idea how to use the suit. He has no idea how to build one. He has no idea about the technology behind it. And he couldn't possibly design this suit or design this Scarab vehicle here, which he's now flying around the city with in total mastery. So this is an insulting premise. They have to race swap him and his family in order to empower Latino viewers. And then they say, oh, by the way, neither you nor your family are smart enough to actually create something like this on your own. Ted Kord could, because he's a Caucasian inventor. But DC Comics says, your Latino family is not smart enough to make the stuff that Caucasian guy did from the comic book. But there are people older than me that grew up in the 60s and 70s reading these Blue Beetle comics. The premise of DC Comics is they don't need any of those original readers who are elderly men and women in their 60s and 70s now. They don't want any of those people buying a ticket to this movie. So there's no nostalgia for the actual readers of the Blue Beetle comic. This isn't targeted to people my age, people in their 40s and 50s, who are familiar with the various reboots of the Blue Beetle made in recent decades. So what is the target market here? As with many superhero movies, the very premise of the movie at the start is to throw out the original audience and say, we don't need the original comic book audience to sell tickets for this movie. They're not our intended target market. Well, what is your intended target market? Hispanics who like being insulted that they couldn't invent any of the technologies shown in the movie. Yeah, that's real empowering.
It's like Batman stuff. Batman's a fascist.
Batman's a fascist. I don't even know how to dissect this, but let's start with the trailer. Imagine you work at Warner Brothers, DC Comics division in their movies. You want people who see this trailer to want to buy tickets to go see the movie. So the goal here is you want to attract an audience that thinks of Batman, the lead superhero in DC Comics, next to the guy with the red cape, a fascist. What is the target market of DC Comics viewers and readers of their comics who think of Batman as a fascist? Why would you make that the centerpiece of your Blue Beetle official trailer from DC? Who is this intended to appeal to? If you look at the imagery that they do with the law enforcement types in this movie, everything seems aligned around the potential target audience. People who loved all the rioting from the George Floyd riots and stuff. And that's our target audience. People who hate cops, who hate law enforcement, who hate any authorities coming in and harassing immigrants. Wow, those are real bad guys. We will appeal to that audience, that niche, and everybody else who doesn't think Batman is a fascist is not welcome to come see the movie. That's just the trailer. Let's think about how a line like this actually got written into the Blue Beetle movie itself. What was the thinking of the people who wrote the screenplay, the director, and the editor to not cut this out of the movie? Think of this in terms of the character, someone who didn't even exist in comic book, Ted Kord's father. Because clearly Ted Kord is an adult here. His father is not Paul Rodriguez. But let's just assume the comic book was like this. How does the Blue Beetle's father even know who Batman is? Batman did most of his stuff behind the scenes. People didn't know what he was doing most of the time. How does this guy know enough about Batman's activities to call him a fascist? Is it the notion that he assumed Batman's a white man, and this is some kind of racist attack by Paul Rodriguez's character against Batman being presumed to be a white superhero? Because you can see Batman's face behind his mask. What is the perspective of this guy? He hates Batman for being white? Does he hate Batman for being Bruce Wayne? Well, wait, he couldn't possibly know Bruce Wayne, multimillionaire, is Batman. That's not public knowledge. So, Paul Rodriguez's character doesn't make any sense in terms of the DC universe. He doesn't know who Bruce Wayne is. He doesn't know that much about Batman. What is it about Batman's crime fighting that would make this guy think Batman's a fascist? There's nothing in any Batman comic book I've ever seen, or any movie, that makes Batman a fascist. What is he talking about? Let's finish this trailer. Why is she shocked that that's her son? She saw him trying out the suit earlier. Oh, there's that amazing hip-hop soundtrack again. Rudy, you're the Blue Beetle. There is nothing about that costume that looks like this. Not a bit. So they keep hyping that there is a powerful, deadly arsenal on this suit. Simply flying at supersonic speeds, which could kill anybody in the vicinity, and having a defensive shield which melts a bus is not enough. He needs an arsenal. So if you just turned on that defensive shield and flew around, you could wipe out anything on the planet. So I'm really not knowing why he needs an arsenal. Now here's the part that's supposed to appeal to young kids. He's got a suit that transforms with a bunch of weapons, which he doesn't understand how they were built or what their weapons capabilities are. Here he's about to blast a bunch of human beings, soldiers, who are attempting to go after his family. It doesn't look like those are non-lethal weapons. Anything about the Blue Beetle's comic book issues here that look like this is a guy who employed lethal force to kill the bad guys? No, it doesn't look like he's killing people in the comic book. They've been trying to stop the wave, so we have a subliterate, ignorant rap soundtrack, hip-hoppity soundtrack to Blue Beetle. And he's going to stand there in his parents' front yard and blast these paramilitary guys all over the place. Oh, that really looks like that would have killed ordinary human beings to tumble through the air like that. Even if his weapon is non-lethal, that doesn't look like these men will walk away from this. They'd either be crippled for life or they're killed outright when they land. This was probably supposed to be some shocking reveal in the movie that Grandma's got some kind of giant ludicrous weapon. The trailer has made it clear that the only threat is some guy in a big red power suit. What do you need that gun for to stop the guy in the big red power suit? Almost reminds me of the scene from Don't Be a Menace where Grandma's shooting all the bad guys. Grandma there looks like Mrs. Doubtfire, to be honest. Maybe she's a trans grandma. Yeah, this is something that it's impossible to comprehend what the target audience is for this. Uptown, I was down. Yeah, you sure were. I don't see this movie breaking even on its production budget. I don't know who the target audience for this movie is, but it certainly isn't comic book readers like myself. No thanks, DC.